All right, today on our list of goals is to wrap up for however long you want to talk about it. Stewardship of the earth, lesson 3. There's just this slide and then one more. Very simple conclusion. Then we're going to start a very short lesson 4. Okay. Next week, we of course do lesson 5, which is by far one of the longest lessons of the whole year, comparative to some of the marriage lessons. I don't know if it'll take 2 or 3 days to get through, at least 2. And then we'll review. I'm going to show you a documentary for this chapter. I'm not entirely sure if your test will be at the end of next week or the following, but I hope to map that all out today during my sub hour. So we said last class that we can't dominate this planet. We can't just use it for our own personal gratification and happiness. We have to preserve it. We have to take care of it. It's not truly ours. Even if it is ours, we got to take care of everybody, rich and poor. Okay? This is what it means to be a steward. Definition given here of somebody in charge of somebody else's property. If your parents leave for the weekend, say you're in charge of the house, you are the steward of their house, of their home, of their property. And so that's what it means to be a steward. And so it's a common word used in Catholic churches because whenever the priest needs money for the parish, he says, please be good stewards of the money God has given you and sharing it with the church. So there's all these stewardship campaigns. That's where you'll hear it the most used. But it's really just a moral principle. Not even our bodies are truly our own, but they're a gift from God, and the earth and everything. We are stewards and we're accountable for how we handle these. Okay? So the next and last slide is simply, you got it, Morgan? It's simply really a conclusion slide, not just to lesson 3, but to lessons 1, 2, and 3. And you just saw this definition in your vocab quiz. But when we're asking the question in chapter 1, what does it mean to be human? We, of course, say in the image and likeness of God. That implies to know, to choose, to love, to experience transcendentals, to have a beautiful body created, given by God, to be stewards of this earth. All of this reflects the immense value of the human person, and for that we have the term dignity. Dignity is an inherent quality of being worthy of esteem and respect. Inherent is the key word I want you to begin to think about. You did not earn your dignity. You do not earn even respect. In truth, now, if I'm a good teacher, I might earn your respect or might earn a good relationship with you. But if I'm, I can do things that would merit less, attention or support or even get fired. That being said, whether we're good or bad at whatever we do, we're all in the image of God. We can't get rid of that. That's who we are. And so that always implies a dignity, okay? That means that homeless guy on the side of the road has dignity. I don't know if he's addicted to drugs or not, but even if he's heavily addicted to every drug in the world, he has dignity. That person, that serial killer in prison has dignity. They're made in the image and likeness of God. Osama bin Laden, Adolf Hitler, Mao Zedong, you name it. The list goes on. Stalin, all made in the image and likeness of God, all have inherent dignity based on their very human nature. This is moral principle number 1 for Christian moral theology. And if you don't understand the value of every human person, we're going to end up going in different directions for the rest of the year. All right. So that's why I spend so much time, hopefully, getting you to appreciate your own self, your own body, but then everybody else's, of course, too. All right. Yeah. And so you can't treat anybody as a tool for something else, because we are ends in ourselves. We are the final product. Everything you do has to be for your own betterment and or the betterment of other people around you. And usually those two go hand in hand, if not always. All right. So you have dignity. Congratulations. That is the close of. Oh, wait. I got a little video here. It's a little cute, a little inspirational. It's only about 2 minutes long. And I offer a bonus point to any person who can name the voice in the background. Who is speaking in the background? I like to play that game if you haven't noticed.
How can you say that you love God whom you don't?
I'm having issues with the volume on my computer. The buttons are not working. I'm just going to turn it up there. I'm going to go back. And we're going to play it.
How can you say that you love God whom you don't see if you do not love your neighbor whom you see? I was hungry and you gave me to eat. Hungry not only for bread, hungry for love, for the tender concern of somebody. Naked, I was naked and you clothed me, not only with a piece of cloth. Nakedness is that loss of that beautiful human dignity, the dignity that has been created to love and to be loved. I was homeless and you took me in, not only for a house made of bricks. My wife, homeless, unwanted, unloved, a throwaway of society. But today we have right here in our country, are we there? To be that love, that kindness, that thoughtfulness to them, and share with them the terrible pain, the terrible feeling of terrible loneliness. Be somebody to somebody.
I didn't hear anybody say the name. Keep Mother Teresa. Usually students just blurt it out.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted us to. I thought you were gonna.
Oh, I assumed you were more obnoxious. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's.
I was like, they're all really quiet. No class has ever been that quiet when it comes to bonus points.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna like have us write it down or something.
No. It's I've never had to in like 7 years of teaching. I've never had. So I salute you for your temperance, for your self-control, for your patience. Period one. You may not have the bonus point individually.
Yeah.
All of us. Mother Teresa, of course, is famous if for no other reason than she saw the dignity of every person. People that are being walked over, eaten by, all kinds of varmint and wild creatures, and the worst. Her mission was to serve the poorest of the poor. Nobody was beneath being loved. Nobody for Mother Teresa, and she was the most powerful person in the world when she lived. I mean, I can go on for stories. My aunt was actually her personal caretaker whenever she would come to the United States of America. So my family has deep connections, and part of the reason why I love Turlings and our chapel's named after Mother Teresa. To understand Mother Teresa, you got to understand this chapter 1, that every human being has dignity. So there's your inspirational video to end that lesson. Like I said, lesson 4 is really short, but pretty real. Beatitude. We'll explain what this term is. Beatitude, you already know how to spell it. We're going to watch another video to prime. So now that we've recognized the value and dignity of the human person, we're going to ask one simple question for the rest of the chapter, and that is, if we're going to evaluate human actions, we have to first ask, why are we acting in the first place? What is the goal? Why did you get out of bed this morning is the question of the day. All right? Because you had to. No, you didn't. I just didn't sit here for the first two classes yesterday. And whoops, I meant to press play. We'll get to Aristotle after this short
video. Scene 1, take 2.
I'm Chris Stefanik, your MC for Seek, and we're out here in the streets of Denver asking people the question, what moves you?
We're on this side of the curtain, man. Woo!
Moves me.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Life. Bailey?
Enjoying life.
I think life itself.
Really?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Money.
Daughter.
My grandchildren. My kid.
Crazy guy.
My son.
I go to work to make kids happy and families happy. That's what I do. Families motivate. Happiness motivates me.
Just family and friends.
It's like family and friends.
Having fun with friends, just being family and stuff.
People being there for me. Not giving up.
I think of all of my closest friends and my family and the people that I love the most because I pay the most.
What moves me? I guess knowledge, education, truth, justice.
Awesome. That's a great answer. I really appreciate it.
Does that work?
That's it. That's good.
Take 1.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, bro.
What moves your heart?
Jesus. You. Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. Absolutely. All our hearts are looking, are thirsting, are moved by something. Join me and over 7,000 college students this January in Nashville, Tennessee at Seek to find what really moves you.
So it turns into a commercial for a Catholic conference that actually a lot of Turlings grads go to. If you go to UL, you might get an invitation if you get active at the Raging Cajun Catholics to go to this focus conference. It's good stuff. But regardless, I just showed you the first part. Like, everybody's got an answer to that question. You get out of bed for a reason. You go to chemistry class for a reason. We don't know what that reason is. We don't know why we still show up to chemistry. Or we don't know why we show up to religion class, whatever it is that your most boring, miserable class. But there's got to be a reason. There has to be, for there to be sense in your life. So says our man of the hour, Aristotle. I'm going to talk a little bit more about him personally. I want you to know when he lived, and I want you to know where he lived. Correct. Alex Swallow. He lived from 384 to 322 BC. What century is that? There are no negative centuries. There's only BC and AD. The what century, Stephen? The 1/3 century? No. Thank you for playing. I think that's warmer, but it's not warm enough. I know what you're thinking. You got to go in the other direction. 4th century. Very good, Matthew Blakely. It's the 4th century because before Jesus Christ came, there were 300 years. That's 3 centuries. But we're into the 300s, which makes it the 4th century before Christ. I want you to know, in case I ask on the multiple choice, what century did Aristotle live in? You know it's the 4th BC. That being said, what century are we living in right now? 21st, because we're into the 21st century, even though it starts with the 20, we're in the 21st century AD or CE, Common Era, depending on if you believe in Jesus or not. That being said, I want you to know where he lived. Greece, that was not a Jewish country. He had no exposure to the Torah. He had no exposure to Yahweh, Moses, you name it. He was just a really smart guy. He lived 300 plus years before Christ came. He had no exposure, of course, to Jesus because Jesus did not exist in the flesh. This being said, he's just a really smart guy asking genuine questions about what does it mean to be human. We've already learned a lot from him. The three types of souls. We learned that the body is the matter and the soul is the form, and they support each other. And we've got one big quest for the next week to sort through, and that is, according to this pagan philosopher, what is the meaning and purpose to life? Every art, every inquiry, every class, every hobby, every job you ever take, every party you go to, every action and pursuit is thought to aim at some good. You're always doing it for a reason. You have to, pretty much. And for this reason, the good has rightly been declared to be that which all things aim. So I have this graph on the board here. You got your hobbies, you got your sport or sports, you got school, you got family, you got your faith life, you got a job. You, some of you, hopefully you all get one eventually, and you got your social life, your friends' life. Aristotle is saying that all these things have to lead to one thing that you're seeking after. They cannot lead in different directions. If they did lead to different directions, your life would be chaotic. There's multiple ends, and what happens when they confront one another or they challenge one another? What do you do then? What happens when you have to choose between your job and your family? Maybe you want to be near your parents when you get older, but you got a great promotion, to go live up in Shreveport. Like, these are decisions. There's got to be one thing. You got to have one thing to guide you when you make those big life decisions. Okay? We're going to figure out what that thing is. This slide largely says what I just said, and that is that Aristotle says that if you choose everything for the sake of something else and it never ever ends, he says that would go on to infinity, and then our desires would be empty and vain. Our life would be too chaotic. Our life would be meaningless. There has to be an end to the road, according to Aristotle. That's just logical, based on looking at the human person, that whatever the end is, it has to be achievable. Otherwise, we have this beautiful intelligence that can never really be satisfied. So we got to figure out what that is. This would be the chief good. And then he ends, will not the knowledge of it then have a great influence on life? Shall we not, like archers who have a mark to aim at, be more likely to hit upon what is right? So if we could figure out in this class today, on a Friday morning, the meaning and purpose of life, would that not help you make good decisions this weekend? Would that not help you to do things that got you more directly to this one thing? That's what Aristotle says. Let's just talk about the meaning, purpose in life. That way, our actions reflect it. We make good moral decisions. So that's what we're going to do. Okay? And that's why you have that sheet of paper out from your bell ringer today. You have a sheet of paper. If it's still in your notebook, tear it out. You're going to turn it in today. On top of that sheet, you wrote one thing that you're going to do this weekend. And underneath that, you can write the following question. Why? Why are you going to do that? What's your motivation? Why are you going to go see grandma? Why are you going to hang out with friends? Why are you going to play basketball? Why are you going to play Fortnite? Why are you going to do anything? Why are you going to blow off homework? Why are you going to do homework? To be or not to be, that is the question. What is the goal? And it's very important. See, some students do this exercise wrong. What they do is they say, I am going to clean my room. Not that anybody ever puts that. And then you say, why? Because my parents are making you. Why? Because they want me to have a clean room. Now, I'm not asking why your parents are making you. I'm asking, why are you listening to your parents? Because you don't have to. You have free will. you can blow them off, and we all know that. Why are you going to listen to your parents? So don't ask why other things. Simply ask, why are you going to do this? What is the goal and purpose of this action? At the end, if Aristotle is right, everybody's last line will be the exact same. It's a great experiment. It's going to freak you out. It's kind of like a magic trick, except it's just philosophy. Okay, you're going to answer why. Write down your answer to why. Why are you doing that thing? And you can keep it simple or you can be profound. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's eating a bowl of Cheerios or leaving the country. Pick one. The one thing that is behind it all is going to have to be the same. And then when you write down that answer, ask yourself why again. Ask yourself why until you can't answer the question anymore. Some of you will go on for a whole page. Some of you will only ask why maybe 2 times.
So we're asking why to
Can I use you as an example? Okay. This person is going to sleep. Why? What is the goal and purpose? No, you didn't answer. Why do you want to sleep? Because I have fatigue. My brain hurts. I want my brain to feel better. I want to have more energy. I want to be relaxed. That's why you want to sleep this weekend. Yeah, no, it's what's the end goal motivation? What's the purpose of sleep? Okay, you work on that. When you think you're done, I'm going to come gather them. I might have you do more work. I'm going to pause this recording, play some background music, because this might take a while. We'll see. According to Aristotle, the main goal is happiness. That's what stands behind your relationship with God. That's what stands behind your sport, why you play the sport you do. Hopefully it's because it makes you happy. We choose this for itself, and you never choose happiness for the sake of something else. So for those of you who on your sheet said, because it makes me happy, and then you said why, that's where there is no answer to that question. Why does it make me happy? Now, I think I overlooked Claire's. Sorry, I'm going to call you out because it was so brilliant. She said, because it fulfills me. And I've never had what you're doing there, as you're going to see on the next slide or two, is that is actually the definition of happiness. I'm going to give you the definition of happiness, but it's the fulfillment of desire. That being said, once your desires to have fun, to succeed, to get a degree and earn a good job and have pride in that and hopefully enjoy the job and the career you choose. The reason why you want to have a family is because family moments are some of the happiest in our life. Why do you want a relationship with God? He makes you happy. Just ask Stephen Young. Why do you want a job? It's going to make you happy. Maybe not the job. Every job's got its downside. But if nothing else, the money you earn is going to allow you to have happiness elsewhere. Why do you want to hang out with friends, all y'all this weekend? Because they make you happy. You don't choose. This is in the bottom in underlined. Happiness, on the other hand, nobody chooses for the sake of these, nor in general for anything other than itself. You just choose happiness because that fills you, and when you are full, you are satisfied, your desires are met. And that is the goal of life, to be happy. Claire.
Isn't in a sense though that kind of selfish?
I thought the same thing. When I was first taught this in college, I said, no way. I will not live for my own personal happiness.
Because if someone said they wanted to do drugs because it made them happy, drugs aren't good for you, but they're still gonna make them happy.
We're going to get there in lesson 5. So we have to evaluate ways of happiness. We have to judge whether a thing can actually make it. And that's what Aristotle does for a whole book. He just says, okay, so if we know the goal is happiness, how are we going to get there? And we can judge the ways people take to make themselves happy or not. Now, about the selfish thing. I did not like this when I was taught it because I was Mr. Heroic. I was going to go save the world. And I was like, nonsense. You cannot tell me that a fireman running into a burning building is going to go save a baby or save a dog for their own happiness. That may not be the number one goal, but it is a underlying motivational factor. So much so that that wonderful, inspiring fireman, that soldier in the Middle East right now, they're putting their life on the line because if they don't, they may not be happy. If they don't live for others, if they don't protect freedoms, if they don't save lives, if they don't live for other people, then they're not happy. Eli, you had a very selfless train of thought. Why do you want to comfort people with music or make people happy? Because when you make people happy, it makes you happy. It doesn't make you selfish. It just shows how all of our happiness is intertwined with one another. And so they say the way to get happy is to think more about other people. When you make other people happy, that's the greatest source of happiness. That's one of the greatest sources of happiness that we'll talk about in lesson 5. Definition of happiness is the fulfillment of all desire. You got desires. You got desires for friends, family. You got desires for success, money, parties, and maybe a marriage one day. You have all these desires. When they are all met, you will say, I am happy. Some of you are not happy today. Some of you are not happy in life. Why? Because you have a desire that's not being met. You need to identify what desire is not being met, how to get that desire met, or adjust that desire, and you will be happy. And that's why we pay a lot of money to go see counselors, to identify our needs, our wants. It's not a bad thing if you don't have a desire met. Oftentimes it's not your fault, especially at your young age. But that's why we're not happy. You forgot your lunch. You're not happy. Why? You have a desire for food. Amen? So that's what makes a bad day. Tennis practice is rained out 3 days in a row. You're not happy. Why? Because you have a desire for that exercise, that camaraderie, that challenge, you name it. Wrestling, regular season, canceled, right? How does that leave you? Happy. Why? Because you can eat food. Yeah, that's why. For 2 more weeks, maybe. All right. So that's what happiness is. We're not going to start lesson 5, but there's all kinds of ways that we go about approaching our happiness, and we're going to judge them, and we're going to judge them hard. And we're going to put you on the path of life where you can most effectively reach that one thing of happiness. And to what degree and to how long will your happiness last? Now, this picture on the slide I simply pulled from Google Images. It says to meditate. Scientifically, people who meditate slow down, get in tune with their inner desires, you're going to be happier. Plan a trip, but don't take it. I don't get the don't take it part, but the whole idea of plan a trip makes you really excited because it gives you a sense of hope that I can go see the Northern Lights. I can go see the Grand Canyon. I can go to Africa. I can go to Europe and London and mind the Gap. I can do all of these things, and it makes you happy when you plan this out because you have a sense of hope, family and friends. You all know that makes you, most of us, happy. Move closer to work. Move closer to school, even though you're only here for another year and a few months. Why? Because commuting to work is when people are unhappy. Thank you.
The instructions are in there.
Great. Just have a bag of chips. Happy Catholic Schools Week. Oh, these are for you. You all get a free bag of chips.
I love free things.
What is Catholic School Week good for but free food? No, just kidding. All right. Now, look at this. You're salivating. Yay, free food. Why? You have a desire. And if I say no, screw you, I've got kids to feed at home. Oh. You won't be happy. What? What else can we milk? Only a few hours left of Catholic Schools Week. You get the idea. We're going to evaluate happiness next week.